Right, here goes episode 6. I've decided to split the effects videos into a separate video for each effect that I add. So there's going to be 3 coming up. And at the end of the third one, I'll have a little discussion with you about how you can experiment with additional effects which might help you to get the distinction criterion. So, the first effect that we're going to deal with is compression. Now, it sounds much more complicated than it is. Okay, it's called compression because if you compress something, you squash it or make it smaller. And if you use the audio effect compression, that is exactly what happens. So if you stand on a drink can, for example, you're going to squash it, you're going to compress it. Now, what happens with audio files is that you'll have moments of high volume and you'll probably have moments of low volume. And if you don't use compression, then when you've got really loud stuff, you'll probably have to turn your volume down. And when you've got really quiet stuff, you'll probably have to turn the volume up. And we've probably all had that experience of a badly compressed track where you can't really hear the words in the verse. So you turn the volume up and then you get to the chorus and it blows your ears off. Okay, that's when compression is not used properly. So all compression does is it takes the audio signal and it squashes it so there is less difference between the quiet stuff and the loud stuff. Now this has 2 effects. It makes it sound more even, but because of the way compression works, it can also be very useful for making tracks stick out. Okay, it can make them sound fuller, warmer, richer, punchier, and that's how we're going to use it. So we are going to use compression on our kick and our snare, okay, which are 2 of the most obvious places to put compression whenever you're doing any kind of mixing, which is what we're now doing. We've finished inputting and we are mixing. Now we have a problem, and the problem is that we're only using Ableton Intro. So unfortunately, Ableton Intro is quite limited in its effects tools. It's the main difference between Ableton Live Full and Ableton Live Intro. There just aren't as many effects settings, but there are enough for us to do what we need to do. So I'm going to go over here, and we need to make sure that we've got, I've actually already got it open, that wasn't very helpful. So we need to click on Audio Effects, which is over here in the side, and it doesn't say compression here. That's because compression is a type of dynamic processing. That means it affects volume. So we need to go to Dynamics, pull that down, and you will have 3 options there. You've got compressor, gate, and limiter. Don't worry about gate or limiter at this stage. If you do level 3 music technology in 6th form, then we'll start worrying about gates and limiters. But for the moment, we're just doing compression. We'll pull that down. And we've got a number of different compression settings. Now, the one we're going to use is we are going to use a generic compressor, right? So I'm going to pick up generic compressor. I'm going to drag it straight over to my kick drum. And when I do that, this box appears down here. Now, actually, this box appeared as well. However, this was already here. This was put on by default. We just happened to open the effects panel. So what's actually happened is this has appeared here. And while Ableton is quite limited in its compressor, the number of presets it's got and that kind of thing, I really like the interface for the compressor. It's really easy to adjust. Basically, all you need to do is you need to move the yellow dot, right? And effectively, moving it up and left will add more compression, and moving it down and right will will remove compression. Okay, so let's put it back to what it came on as its default setting. So I'm actually going to take it off, and then I'm going to put it back on again on the kick track. There we go. So you can see we've got a little bit of compression being added here, but not very much. You don't need to know the specifics at this stage of things like attack, release, and ratio. You don't need that. We'll get into that again if you do level 3 music technology. All you need to know is the effect that it's going to have, and you're going to use that to improve your mix. So I'm going to play from here. And you can hear the kick. It's not very present. You can hear it's happening. Now, a not very good audio engineer, someone who's just starting out, might just turn the volume on the kick up. But actually, one, that's probably going to create clipping. In fact, we've got a little bit of clipping going on already, which we'll talk about in the final balance, and create distortion and that kind of thing. But it's not actually going to give the presence that we're after. Whereas if I change the compressor, listen to this. just by moving the dot that little bit, it made it warmer, fuller, more present without actually being louder. Okay, we didn't turn up the volume at any point. We just added some compression. We squashed down the tops into the quieter stuff, and it's going to make it sound much warmer. I could do the same thing with the snare, and I'm going to use the same preset. Add that over. Now the snare's already quite present. But that's made a real difference. See how much present that snare is. Okay, now that's the compression that I'm adding, and that's the compression that I'm going to write up. Please, by all means, if you want to add compression to some other tracks, if you want to try it on the hi-hats or the toms or the synths or anything like that, have a go, see what happens. You might get some nice results. For the purpose of this demonstration video, I'm just adding it. And you might even want to try some of the other presets, perhaps. I've used the generic one because it's nice and easy to manipulate. But you might want to try some other presets, maybe on different instruments or even on the snare or the kick. You've got plenty of time on this. So, you know, do it and see what happens. So I'm going to take screenshots. And this will be screenshot 16, I believe. There we go. Screenshot 16. This is me. Oh, I can't type today. This is me adding the first of my effects. I am adding compression to the kick and snare tracks. Compression squashes the audio signal so that there is less difference between the loud and the quiet sections. On drums, this has the effect of making the tracks punch or stick out more. I added the generic compressor preset to both of these tracks, and I adjusted the compression level in the visual I really can't spell today. Representation that appears in the effects panel. I put some personal opinion in. I think this makes the tracks pop a lot more and the drums sound much better. Okay, and that's compression, right? That's all you need to worry about. You've given some evidence that you understand what compression is, and you have used compression to enhance your mix. Your mix now sounds better. If it doesn't sound better, don't keep it. Let's listen to that again. Great, you have enhanced the mix. That's on the distinction criterion. So, you know, we are making progress. So what's up next? After compression is EQ, or equalization. So I shall see you for that. What will that be? That will be episode 7. See you at that point.